All right, guys. So we're here with another funded trade recap here. So today was a pretty good day. So let's get pretty much into it here. Just kind of scroll over here. Okay, so we got drawn liquidity here, and we got another drawn liquidity here. Just want to point out those are equal lows right there. And then I always mark out 2 a.m., 5 a.m., and 8:30 a.m. And I always mark out the lowest point in between these two times there because that's where liquidity lies almost every single day. So then we can get almost into market open there. So y'all guys know that I have my draws and liquidity as each and every single day there. Okay, so market decides to make big legs upwards. So I mean it's just pretty much just straight up. Let me scale up here to like 5 minute. Sorry. So as you can see, market made a really big jump upwards there. So when that happens there, I like to see a retrace at least into the midpoint here. So let me scale over here. So I like to see a retrace up into the midpoint there. So that's good right there. And we have another gap right there. That's getting closer to entry point. So let me scale down a little bit more so I can kind of show y'all 1 minute price action here. So that's an area right there. And then we're pretty much consolidating right there. So we're showing some bearish order flow right there. And then also we're kind of making a SMT right there. So that's something to point out there. But, there's always guys that just like to scream SMT, SMT. But, we have to look at the bigger picture. But that's just something that I have in mind there. Today I had a pretty bullish bias there because market, as you can see, as soon as market opened, we just had an instant rip pretty much upwards there. But, there's always a capitulation point or accumulation, if you would like to call it that. We always make a nice move down there. And then we like to inverse there. So we're pretty much just showing somewhat strong bullish price action there. And then we make this 5 minute candle here. If I scale up to 5 minute, y'all guys are going to see a 5 minute candle there. Wow. Kind of scroll over there. We're making this strong 5 minute candle. So now at this point, it's around like 9:05, 35 minutes into the market open there. So, it's kind of getting close into the trading point there. So I decided to mark out this gap that was right there. That was pretty strong. I'm feeling now we're about to eventually rip into, did we make all-time highs? Yeah, we did. We make some more all-time highs there. So that's there. So at this point here, I mark out this 5 minute gap here. I'm feeling like this is pretty much entry point right here. We're a decent ways into market open there. So I decided to mark out that 5 minute candle as I showed y'all earlier. Now pretty much I'm just looking for a retest up into this price range right there. So we can, put more bullish orders here and we can just pretty much just skyrocket into, all-time highs up here. So that's that right there. So there should be a picture right there. And yeah, that was kind of the trade recap right there. I think it was like $1,010. So that kind of happened right there. So yeah, pretty straightforward trade. Yeah, just bullish bias. Come down here, retest, come back into this point, and then move further. So that's pretty much it. So for the trade recap, I'm gonna leave that there so y'all can see the play-by-play. So yeah, you just have to stick to your risk management. Don't over leverage. Don't over trade. There's just take 1 to 2 trades per day. Only risk 1 to 2% of your account. Pretty much the standard things there. But trading is funded. As you can see, I think I'm like 50.5 on the consistency rule. So next trade I might need to take a 1.2K trade so that doesn't put me over that on that consistency rule there. So hopefully tomorrow will be pretty good. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to get that out because they took up our laptops there. The rule in Texas, you can't have phones or anything like that in school. So we're gonna see on how that plays out there. So I might or might not have a trade recap, and that might be the reason why there. So may have to wait until Monday, I think, or Tuesday. I don't know. I'll get a trade recap out pretty soon, but that's that. Just don't over leverage, don't over trade, stick to your psychology, don't go crazy risking, like 5 lots on like a 100K funded, but just pretty much just stick to pretty much the basics there. But for a lot of people that's pretty hard because they might be in a tough situation. They kind of need the money quick, but you know trading is not like a quote unquote get rich quick scheme. You're not going to be able to pick up the skill instantaneously, but you just gotta put a minimum of 10,000 hours into this thing. There, you won't be able to pick up the skill nearly instantly. Well, for maybe some people you might, but I'm speaking abroad there. So you gotta put a lot of hours in to be able to get that skill down and get that strategy down. But I don't like to harp on strategy because I think trading is at like 80% psychology, maybe 20% strategy, and yeah. So that's gonna be it for the trade recap. Just pretty much just stick to your rules. Don't overtrade. Don't over leverage. Stick to psychology. And it's repeat, repeat, repeat each and every single day. But that's what it takes to be able to become one of the best in the industry. Well, at least that's what I'm striving towards. So yeah, that's gonna be that. I might catch y'all tomorrow. Hopefully, I pray. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the trade recap. I'll catch y'all guys later. Take care.